publishing is so emotional and there's just so much happening that you have to navigate just to sort of stay afloat in it. But I just have been able to sort of quiet myself and look around and be like, I published 2 books with like the 2 biggest presses in the world. And these are books that 10 years ago might not have been allowed to exist. My entire vision as an editor is so much bigger than me. It's about the people that I can bring to the conversation and bring to the table. And it is about, in whatever way I'm able to change or grow the face of literature.
Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and this week I am joined by Denne Michele Norris. Denne is the editor-in-chief of the online literary publication Electric Literature. Denne is also the author of 2 books that came out this year. One, her debut novel, When the Harvest Comes, and the second, an anthology called Both and, Essays by Trans and Gender Nonconforming Writers of Color. Today, Denne and I talk about the work she is doing to bring more trans writers of color into the literary world, the difference for her of being the editor versus being the one edited, and we add a handful of books to the trans literary canon. The Stacks book club pick for September is The Lilac People by Milo Todd. Denne Michele Norris will be back to discuss the book with us on Wednesday, September 24th. Everything we talk about on each episode of The Stacks can be found in the link in the show notes. And if you like this podcast, if you want more bookish content and community, consider joining the Stacks Pack on Patreon and subscribing to my newsletter Unstacked over on Substack. Each place offers different perks like community conversation, virtual book clubs over on Patreon, and then you'll get some of my writing and my hot takes on my Substack. And if you join between now and September 22nd, you will get access to the Stacks 2025 nonfiction reading guide. It is only available through the 22nd of September, so act fast. And most importantly, I think, you get to know that your support makes it possible for me to make this podcast every single week and to make it free for all. To join the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks and go to tracythomas.substack.com to get that newsletter. Okay, now it's time for my conversation with Denne Michele Norris. Hello, everybody. I am beyond thrilled today to welcome to the show one of my new book world friends. She is Denne Michele Norris. She is an editor. She is an author. She is one of the truly greatest literary citizens we have. Denne, welcome to the Stacks.
Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting. I'm kind of nerding out. Like I said, I was like, oh, I'm one of the cool kids now. Like, everyone's talking about you in the Stacks, and I just, I'm a stan. So like,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a you stan. So for the people who don't know Denne, can you just give us like a little backstory? Where are you from? Maybe like what brought you to books? What's your, who are you, like, loosely? It doesn't have to be professional resume either. We'll get to that stuff later.
Perfect. Well, let's see, I'm just a girl from Ohio. I love to tell people that I was born in New Jersey, but my parents moved to Cleveland Heights, Ohio when I was 1, and that's where I grew up. And, I had a very sort of happy, fun childhood in the suburbs of Cleveland. I lived in this very progressive place. Like, you walk around my neighborhood now and there's like, all of those signs that's like, in this house, trans women are women and
right.
Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. Like, I went to a little elementary school that was called, every school in the district had a theme, and my school was the Peace School. So that tells you, like,
what were the other themes? Like, besides peace, what were they going with? Like the fun school, like the rude school? Like, what were the other vibes?
I wish I had any clue what any other school went by, but I have no idea. I was so wrapped up in my school, but I was Peacemaker of the Month every year. I would win that at some point. So it was just really fun. And I got to books because my parents were very, very serious and intense about academia and school and about reading. And so when I was a baby, like when I literally like from newborn on until I could read, my mom had a rule that every day someone needed to read to me 10 times a day. And so
10 times a day.
10 times a
Wow.
day. And so by the time I got to preschool, my teachers were like, oh, Den is like first in line when we do story time and sits right up front in front of the teacher because she's so excited about stories. So I've always sort of been this really voracious reader. So in college, I studied creative writing a little bit. I actually had an idea for a novel, something that was like loosely based on the Scottsboro Boys. And I thought I would be a lawyer. And when I was 60 and had amassed a bunch of money, I would retire and start a second life as a novelist. But I
Oh my
grew
God.
up, but yeah, that was like the whole plan. I was like, I'll be like James Patterson and publish 20 novels, one a year, like at the end of my life.
Yeah.
I was an English major, and so because of this love for reading and writing, but I graduated in the economy of 2008, the
Okay.
recession, the Great
Oh, I graduated in
Recession.
2008 also.
Oh my God, that's part of why we connect because
Yes,
yes, we
we
are the
have
same
been through the
generation.
exact same things.
Yes. So all my friends who were in law school or who were already lawyers were like, listen, there's too many lawyers. Like, don't be a lawyer unless you really want to be one. And I just thought by that point, I knew I wanted to write. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be broke anyway, I might as well be broke and do what I love to do.
What I want to
So
do.
yeah. And so that was
Yeah.
it. That was it from there. And from there, it went. And it's been slow going, but I am very happy because I am full-time literary, which was
Yeah.
always the goal, was to be, I didn't know how far my writing would go. I didn't know if I was talented enough to be published. I didn't know any of these things, but I was like, if I can be in that world in any way that they'll
Hmm.
have me, whether it's as an editor or an agent or like just a reader who commentates. I couldn't imagine like what you do, for example, at that time, but like any
Sure.
way that I can be involved in this world, I want to be there.
Okay, so when did you become full-time literary?
That didn't happen until 2021 when I got the job at Electric Literature. So up until that point, I worked for many years in nonprofit service work, mostly in Harlem, all in New York City. I had done 1 year as a care coordinator for an LGBTQ healthcare startup, like I had done that in COVID, which was great because I was serving the queer community, which I'd always wanted to do. But when I got this job, I was able to kind of set all of that aside and just
Hmm.
devote all my time and energy to books and reading and writing and craft and like being fully immersed in this world.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
mean, full-time literary is very cool, I
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
like it's really a certain kind of nerd's real life dream.
Yes. Yes. It really is. And it's for the writer, it isn't necessarily always the healthiest thing. That
Sure.
is the thing that I've come to learn. And so it just means that you have to have a robust life outside of the literary world, because I think
Right.
when you are a writer and you're putting out books, there's so much that's happening and there's so much that doesn't happen, and it can be challenging to navigate. So that
Yeah.
I kind of didn't see that coming, but it doesn't negate the fact that like I love what I do. I love this life. I
Yeah.
wouldn't like even on bad days, I just think I'm so lucky that I get to do this. And then I think about like going to law school, no shade to lawyers, we
Right.
need them. But like, and I just think, oh God, like I could be doing that, you know? So
Yeah. What does your so like you are a full-time literary, for people who don't know, you're the editor-in-chief of Electric Lit, which is an online literary publication. For people who don't know, you need to know. Electric Lit is one of my like main sources for information about books, about what's coming, just the best. But you also are a writer, obviously, and you said, writers need writers who are full-time literary need a robust outside life. So what does your robust outside life consist of that you're willing to share with us? You don't have to get too personal, but whatever you're willing to share.
I mean, I certainly have many friends who are in the literary sphere, but I also have many friends who are outside of the sphere. So some of my closest friends are not writers. They're all voracious readers. They all love Goodreads, for example, which like I am just like, that's for readers. It's not for me. It's not my space.
Yeah.
Um, and so there was one night where we were having dinner, probably 4 months or 5 months before my book came out, and it had just started coming up on Goodreads, and people like early readers
Oh
were
my
starting to
gosh.
read it, and I really wasn't paying attention to it, but I told my friends, I said, you cannot talk about Goodreads around me. I said,
Yeah.
you have to leave. I said, I have 2 books coming out next year. You need to take that conversation and save it for when I'm not in the room, save it for the group chat that I'm not a part of. Like it needs to not be there. But I say that to say that I have, like, it's mostly friends, but also like I'm obsessed with figure skating. I was a competitive figure skater growing up.
That's right. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. How did I forget? Of course. Yes.
So all of that, and I actually worked in figure skating for a while. One of the nonprofits I worked at was a place that, takes girls who are from Harlem and the Bronx and kind of helps them become figure skaters. And the idea is that the skills, the tools that they use to learn how to figure skate, like the sort of drive and the dedication to learn these skills in this extremely difficult sport, will translate into them being great students, being student leaders in their community, and going off and having amazing, empowered lives. And so I worked at this organization for 4 or 5 years. And so figure skating is also a huge part of my life. And I have friends from there and from my competitive days, and I coached for a while. And so that's a big part of my life too.
There are 2 friends of this podcast, aside from you, who I associate with figure skating. Do you know Sarah Hildreth?
Yes.
Fiction Matters.
Yes.
She was a figure skater, and she is like, I mean, when she told me she was a figure skater, my response was, of course. Like,
yeah.
Literally, how did I not see this coming? But she fills me in on figure skating drama. But also, do you know Robert Samuels?
No.
He was one of the co-authors of the book. His name is George Floyd, that won the Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm.
And he is like reports on figure skating a ton. I don't know that he was a figure skater, but he's like so in the figure skating world. When there was that tragic plane accident with many of those like young figure skaters, he like did the reporting on it. Like he had been at the competition or whatever and had come back the day before. So he had done reporting on the competition. Like he's like very in the figure skating world, which I did not know, because he came to me like in the form of this book about George Floyd, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then like, as I got to meet him at some literary festivals, and then I like saw his reporting, and I was like, this is so weird. And he's like so into figure skating. So anyways,
one day I'm going to have to meet him.
You have to meet him. He's so great. You'll love him. Do you still skate at all?
I have not in many years. And I actually started training in the fall of 2020, just like taking lessons with a friend again to partly get in shape, and because I missed it. And then COVID happened and I haven't gotten back to it. And, this is like maybe too in the weeds. New York City is a very difficult place to figure skate. It's like, it's just like not like the way that the city works, it's difficult. And so getting to a rink, is just like kind of a hassle. And so I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm starting to really miss it. And I was thinking of moving away from New York City for a while. And when I did, I was like, man, it's like, if I get back to Cleveland or if I move to the Hudson Valley, I can just hop in my car and drive to a rink, and that would be amazing. And imagine the skating life I could have again. And so it is in the back of my mind as a way to either make it work or to leave and then skate.
Yes. To leave to skate. You're like, I gotta move, not because I don't like it here, but because I gotta get to a rink.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to start by talking about Both And, which is your essay collection that it's an anthology, I guess, that you are the editor on. The subtitle is Essays by Trans and Gender Nonconforming Writers of Color. First of all, it's a star-studded list. I mean, it's Akwaeke Emezi, Caro de Robertes. It's just like banger after banger. There were a lot of new voices to me. There were people that I knew and loved. It's really sort of expansive, even though it's a teeny tiny book. It's such a fast read. I was like, wait, I was like reading it, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, I'm halfway through. What happened here? But can you tell us a little bit about the origin story of this collection, Both And, why you wanted to do it, like where the idea came from, because it has like a longer story than just being a book.
Yes. So, okay. We mentioned in 2021, I became full-time literary. I started the job as editor-in-chief at Electric Lit. Electric Lit is a prominent space in the literary industry, and I became the first Black openly trans woman to run a major publication. So there was a lot of like excitement around my appointment, like a lot that I saw and a lot that I didn't see. Like I remember a few days after I got the job, I was in therapy, and my therapist, who at the time was a Black trans woman, was like, oh, the girls are talking about you in this job. She's like, no less than 10 people texted me like, oh my God, look at this Black trans woman. And so there was this real sort of sense of celebration, but it was also, this was the late summer of 2021. So, I think later that year, or maybe it had just come out, Dave Chappelle had put out another comedy special where he really was attacking trans folks. And also there was some controversy around Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and she had written a long letter.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that was a whole thing. And it was interesting because what I happened to see specifically was there were people who had cheered on me, people in institutions that had cheered on the announcement of me getting this job and were also very much viscerally supporting Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And I'm not about throwing Black people away ever, and I'm about calling people in. So like I'm not necessarily even super that is nuanced. But the point for me is that this was a huge amount of cognitive dissonance. And then because we were in the news cycle, I was like, there's so many people who are talking about trans people right now, and none of those people visibly really are trans people. Like our voices are not in the room, and especially trans people of color. And I just kept thinking, well, what can I do? What can I do? I can't. I was like, this problem, this issue of people, using trans people as a political football is going to last. This is not a one and done moment. And so I was like, I can't get trans people booked on CNN. I do not have that much power. But what I can do is intentionally publish more and more trans people and trans people of color, because I was publishing trans white people. I was not hearing from trans writers of color. And so I said, I can publish these folks, give them a platform. Book editors read Electric Lit every day. Literary agents read Electric Lit every day. We have the power to jumpstart literary careers. And if I can get more people in the pipeline to be publishing books, there will be more people available to have these conversations, so that eventually, hopefully, whenever these conversations are happening, one or two of us at least can be in the room or near the room. That was the sort of vision. And so we fundraised around this so that we could pay our contributors for our online series 5 times our normal rate. So we fundraised, and it was our most successful fundraiser to that point. I think we fundraised $5,000 over our goal within 1 week.
Gosh.
It was,
oh my gosh.
It went everywhere. It was amazing. And so we were able to publish people, or pay people, compensate people really well for it. And there were people who've been published by us who it has helped jumpstart their careers. And then we had the idea to maybe to try our hand at making it a book. And so I wrote a book proposal, and we did not know that it would really happen, but I did write a kick-ass book proposal. And in fact, when our agents went to sell it, we had an offer the same day they sent it to editors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was insane. So it told us that people were hungry for this work to be in the world. People were hungry to hear from these voices. It's been so warmly received. And I think by and large in the literary space, I think it's an interesting time right now to be publishing in a big way as a trans person, given the cultural context and political context that we're in, and given the fact that many publishers are part of large corporations, but the people, the readers and the community, they want our work. And so that is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that's really interesting to me about this moment, like politically, is that, and it's touched on in the book, I think. I mean, one of the things that I kind of liked about the book is that it was written, a lot of these were written very recently. So there's references to like the 2024 election. I'm like, wait, this book came out really, really fast. But one of the things that I've been struggling with, just as it pertains to trans people, as it pertains to people of color, as it pertains to women broadly, is like we are in a pendulum swing back towards conservatism in a way that feels like extremely quick to me. I think I know that these pendulums sort of swing, and like there is like we move from left to right, but this feels like a real hard push right, like in just a few years. And so I'm wondering, like, and more specific to you and this book, as this harder push right, I feel like the people who are getting pressed the hardest are trans people, specifically trans women, specifically trans women of color. And so I'm wondering to you, like, what does it feel like to have come up with this idea in 2021 when the pendulum was sort of on the left-turn side, and now to be releasing something into the world where you are, and many people in your book, or everyone in your book, are sort of like targets of a lot of rhetoric and violence, and just like icky online ignorance, like things that range from like horrible, horrible, horrible to things that are just like, ew, like, you dumb?
Right. It feels validating because I was right. Like
Okay.
like it feels like I was right, because this is the thing, right? Like talking about Dave Chappelle, like that was I think his third comedy special where he did that, and like so many people, were quietly cheering him on, and he was never really canceled. Like, so some people were
Right.
offended and walked out of Netflix because you said some shit.
Right.
Like
Like the check's still cleared.
the check still cleared. You doing just fine. So I think for me, and I think for a lot of trans people, like we could see the writing on the wall. The cracks were already there, and they're not there because of nothing. So, I think
the cracks meaning like this push towards
yes,
more hate. Okay.
yeah, like it was like you could tell that like even if only a few people were saying these things, even if only a few people were doing these things, there were enough people in the wings cheering them on that you were like,
Yes.
oh, this can go to the right, really, rather than normally I know the phrase is go left, but like this can go right really, really quickly and really drastically and really badly. And I think that's true. And the other thing that that made me feel like I knew that this could happen was that, again, in those conversations, like, where people who were not trans were defending trans people and trans rights, I often felt like the things that they were saying were more touchy-feely than sort of fact or evidence-based. And so I was like, that's not going to hold up when people are attacking us more viscerally. Like, you really... Like people who really were knowledgeable about trans people and trans history, which is a thing I'm still learning, by the way, like we're not having these conversations. And so it felt like a lot of the acceptance that we saw and that we experienced was like sort of just like, oh yeah, like sure, like it's fine, without people really like, knowing trans people, loving trans people, actively caring about the well-being of trans people, versus like, yeah, we can have a few trans people in a TV show and we can have a show about trans people and like, that's fine. And so I think perhaps none of it felt real to me. And so now, in a way, I can say this sitting comfortably in my little home in New York as a person who's published 2 books this year and like is not necessarily in any real immediate danger, and I'm not an activist, but this feels like the fight that we were gearing up for. This feels like the time that we knew was coming, and now it's becoming so broad. So many people are feeling it because of the rhetoric that's happening around so many people, that there's a part of me that sometimes is sort of like, well, join the damn club. Glad you're here now. Like, because so much is happening.
Yeah. I want to push back slightly. I think you are an activist. You might not be an activist in the same way, but I do think you're sort of a literary activist. Just the idea of this project, like to be like, look, I am going to like, not, this is going to sound worse than I mean it, but like, I'm going to force these trans people of color down your throat because I'm here now and you're going to make space for us, whether I have to like fundraise for it and get it done. Like that is definitely activism. It's like, maybe literary activist feels more comfortable, but I think anyone who steps into a new role and says like, look, pull up and this is how it's going to work and we're going to make it work. Like to me, that is a form of activism. It's not, it's maybe not like how Raquel Willis does it, but I think like, it's pretty, I think what you've done with this book and with the series before is like pretty aggressive for publishing. I feel like publishing is so slow and like waiting around and sort of, we'll try this and that. And you were sort of like, no, babe, it's happening. We're doing it. We got the dollars. It's done. Like the fact that the book even exists in 2025 when you just got the job in 2021 is like, and we know that it takes like a year to publish something. You know what I mean? It's like you are an activist. I just want to say that because I don't want you to think that you're not. I think you're one.
I certainly feel like I'm that. Like I've been telling myself, I was like, you know what you are? You are that bitch. Like,
that's it. Sure. Activist or not, that is a fact, I think. I do think that. Do you feel that way more now this year after publishing 2 books? Or like when did you start to step into that feeling about yourself?
Oh, it's very recent. Like maybe in the last week. Like
Oh,
it's
okay. Okay.
it's new, but I just publishing is so it's so emotional, and there's just so much happening that you have to navigate just to sort of stay afloat in it. Um, but I just have been able to sort of quiet myself and look around and be like, I published two books with like the two biggest presses in the world. And these are books that 10 years ago might not have been allowed to exist.
Right.
And so that feels pretty spectacular. And I'm just stepping into it, and I'm using it to help fuel me through the rest of the year and through the future projects that I'm thinking about and working on and all of that. But what I will say is that I just want to do more of this. I don't know if I'll actually edit another anthology. Like, it is
Sure.
tough work, but my entire vision as an editor is so much bigger than me. It's about the people that I can bring to the conversation and bring to the table, and it is about, in whatever way I'm able to change or grow the face of literature. I do not want trans people of color to ever be we are not anecdotal, we are not bonuses. We get to be central in this industry, and that is what I want to achieve for us. So whatever that looks like, wherever I'm able to do that,
Yeah.
that's the goal. And I never thought about it, but you're right. In 4 years of having this job, look at what I did. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So
I think it's really, I mean, there's a lot of people in publishing who've done a lot less in the last 4 years. Let me put it that way. Before we sort of move on to your book taste, we should talk about the novel, When the Harvest Comes. That came out in April, your debut novel. Do you want to tell the people, sort of like give them like a little 30-second sizzle about what it's about?
I would say it is an interracial queer love story that deals with grief. It deals with death. It's a sweeping, when I was selling it, publishers were like, it's a sweeping family novel. I think ultimately it's really beautiful and really hopeful. And I wanted to tell a story where queer people of color, femme people of color, were allowed to have the sort of romantic fever dream of our lives that we want as kids. So it was, in some ways, it can feel almost fantastical. In some ways, it's very realistic. But
Yeah.
yeah, but that's what I wanted. I wanted something tender and sweet.
Were you working on both the books at the same time, or did you finish the novel and then start working on both and?
I mostly finished the novel and started working on both and. There was a maybe 1 month of overlap where I was doing my final edits on the novel and working on both and. But for the most part, they were separate.
Okay. I was just thinking, like, that's got to be a lot, like, brain switch. Like,
Yes.
I'm the writer, I'm taking notes from my editor, and then, like, I'm the editor. Listen to me, people. Shut up and listen. I got notes. Here's the red pen. Yeah. Do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer to edit, or do you prefer to be edited or be the writer?
I don't know if I have preference. I think it's certainly easier. I tend to feel like when it comes to dealing with writers, it's easier to be the editor than to be the writer, because part of the job of being an editor is having a very clear-eyed vision in a way that sometimes the writers struggle to, which is part of, I think, being the writer, and that's okay. And so a writer can come to me and feel like they're having profound difficulty with a project. And if I'm the editor, I can often look at it and see all of the different paths that they can take in just a really clear way. And as a writer, I can do that for myself up to a point. So like, I'm usually sending in, when I send work into anyone, it's usually very, very polished. But there are things I struggle with, and there are things that I really need help and guidance on. And so I do love being edited, but it's easier to be the editor, I think.
What are the things that you feel like you struggle with or need help and guidance on? Is it like a general idea, or is it specific?
It's usually the big picture elements of a narrative. So I don't write in order. And so,
oh my God.
Exactly.
I don't understand people like you. So many people come on this podcast and talk about and I'm like, how? Okay, go ahead.
It's one of the only ways to get me to kind of move out of my trance of fear of panic that happens when I'm staring at the blank page is like, well, I can do everything about this later. All I have to do is get the words on the page and sort of then I can place it into the larger narrative. But what that means is that I often am writing in a way that means that things can go anywhere in the narrative. And so figuring out that arc and figuring out the way to make it emotionally resonate with readers can be really challenging. And sometimes it's hard to know when you need to be rewriting things and when it's like, no, you don't need to rewrite this. You need to move it 80 pages earlier or 100 pages further. And you need to rewrite the interstitial content to package it in the right way that it works for a reader in the way that you're hoping it'll work. That kind of stuff, I'm good at executing it. I'm not always good at seeing how it all works. Yeah. And so that's where I use that help. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to be right back. Valentine's Day is upon us and I've got love on the brain. Love for books. Duh. Of course. Hello. Did you forget what podcast you're listening to? I love bringing you all great reads, exclusive author interviews, and behind the scenes book gossip. But I can only do that with your support over on Patreon and Substack. Our Stacks Patreon community, also known as the Stacks Pack, is where you can go for book club meetups, a private, very active Discord, and a year-long mega reading challenge to help you achieve all your reading goals. Plus, you also get that monthly bonus episode. Now, over on the Substack, you can subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, where I keep the book conversations going. I also give you a healthy dose of sports and pop culture, definitely some hot takes happening over there. And again, that bonus episode. If you don't have a few dollars to spare, don't worry. There are free options on the Substack and the Patreon to get you a little extra Stacks magic. Making this podcast is a total team effort, and by supporting my Patreon and my Substack, you allow me to support my amazing team that makes the show possible every single week. So if you or your friends are looking to meet other book lovers and support this indie podcast, come hang out with me on Patreon, Substack, or both. I would love to have you. And since we're talking about love, you can gift subscriptions to the Patreon and the Substack for that special reader in your life. For the Stacks Pack, head to patreon.com/thestacks. And for the newsletter, head to tracythomas.substack.com. And also, there are links to both in the show notes. Okay, see you in the Stacks. We're back. So normally we do this thing called Ask the Stacks where someone writes in and they ask for book recommendations, but I didn't want to do that with you because I wanted to be the person to ask the question. So it's my podcast. Sorry, everybody. But everybody, if you want to do Ask the Stacks next time, email askthestacks@thestackspodcast.com. So basically, I'm the asker. Earlier this year, we did a bonus episode with Emily St. James, who wrote Woodworking. And we were talking a lot. It was after sort of the women's prize list came out that Chimamanda was on. And we were talking sort of, the Gavin Newsom thing had happened. Like, it was just like a lot of like ick trans pop culture stuff was going on. And one of the things that I had asked Emily was I wanted her to give us sort of like help us start a trans literary canon. And so I'm going to extend this to you. Will you give us like 2 or 3 books that you think should be on listeners of the Stacks trans literary canon? And if you say any repeats, I'll just tell you and you can fill in something else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. I mean, for me, one that was really important was it's hard because there's not a ton of stuff by trans writers of color, but there are a few things. But Imogen Benny's Nevada was incredible for me.
I think that is on. I think that was on the list. I think so. I can't even remember now, but I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. So if that's on the list, I might do. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and actually add just all of Tori Peters. So Stag Dance, and Detransition Baby. I think both are canon. Because they're both incredible and Tori is amazing.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I kind of want to add The Lilac People.
Okay, well, that's our book club pick for September, everybody. So we could add it. I'm so excited about it. What do you know? I don't know anything about Milo Todd. What do you know about the author, if anything?
I mostly just know that Milo Todd is cool as shit. We did an event together for something in Boston. Was it?
Oh, yes. It was. I saw these pictures of this. It was like the Boston Book Festival type thing.
Yes.
Literary something.
I
Okay.
never remember what anything was. And I really enjoyed our conversation. The conversation, which Emily Zhao, actually author of Girlfriends, was also on as well. But that's really all I know about Milo. Like I don't know them well, but I have been excited about this book, especially because it deals with trans history, which I think we don't have anywhere near enough of anywhere in print. So I just like, it's one of the books that I'm super excited about. Oh my God. And also one more that I know it just came out, but what we're dealing with is the fact that like, there is not a robust history of trans people. So.
I mean, I feel like that's why I want to build this canon, because I feel like it's sort of like we can get in on the ground floor a little bit. Like I don't ask every author from every like marginalized group to build a canon, because I think like there is a Black literary canon, but I think as far as like the trans literary canon goes, it's a little bit smaller because the history. Yeah. Like, so I feel like I think that's why the question is exciting to me, is like, we get to sort of shape it. And by we, I mean you and Emily, and like, I get to chime in, but like that it's happening now.
So one other that came out, I can't believe this wasn't top of mind because I've been obsessed with this book. Hot Girls with Balls by Benedict Wong.
Is it amazing?
It so just good. Came out. I mean, she's brilliant. And I actually almost had the opportunity to edit her a couple years ago, and I really want to work with her again in the future. So I am thirsty for that opportunity. We're reading together at a reading in a couple weeks, which is exciting too. But that book is also amazing. She's brilliant. And I also think it's like perfectly timely because it is dealing with trans women in sports at a moment when that's sort of the specific thing that that even Gavin Newsom rolled over on us on. So Hot Girls with Balls for sure. And Tori Peters, both of Tori Peters and the Lilac People, even though I haven't read it yet and we're about to read it.
Wait, did you read the Other Olympians that came out last year? The like nonfiction book about
I haven't read it yet. It is on my nightstand though, right now.
It's so good. It's so good. It's one of my favorite books last year. I loved it so much that the beginning of this year, I started by being like, Michael Waters, will you please come on the podcast? Because I just loved it so much. But you were saying like, you don't know a ton about trans history. And I obviously didn't know this history, but I'm a huge sports person and I'm obsessed with World War II. So I was like, oh, let me check this book out and see. And I was like, it's so good. So I'm excited to sort of read the Lilac People also in conversation with that, because there's sort of the same era. Germany, obviously different, but like they're definitely like in conversation. So I'm excited about that.
Maybe I should read that now too. And then I can just bring both books to the conversation. Michael is amazing. He's a friend too.
Michael's amazing. I met Michael at the LA Times Book Festival and was like, oh, sorry, I love you so much.
Yeah. He's a real one.
I just fall in love with people so easily. I just fall in love with like, you read someone's book and you like it and then you're like, oh, well, I guess we have to be best friends. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, he's very lovable. He's very lovable. He's adorable. He's smart. He's kind. He's great.
And he's so tall.
He's so tall. We love tall. Not that we don't love our short kings, but we love a tall. Yeah, we love a tall writer.
But like with the internet, you never know how tall someone's going to be. So like when someone is either short or tall, I'm always feel like it's like, congratulations, you're the father. It's like, I had no idea this was going to happen to me.
Can I tell you a fun story about Michael that is not writing related?
Yes, of course.
So we were hanging out at a party last December and I was dating a guy from Ohio. I live in New York. I was dating this guy from Ohio. And have you heard about the recent controversy with Laverne Cox where she talked about dating a cop who was MAGA? He was blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she didn't know that he was MAGA until well into the relationship. It didn't come up. And while I have my own thoughts about that, what I will also say is that it is true that conservative men like trans women, because I found myself dating a man who a few months in, he would say a few things and I was like, wait a second, how did this guy vote? What's the situation? I don't know. Uh-oh. I was talking to Michael about this at a party and Michael was like, do you want me to look it up for you? I can look it up because he's an investigative reporter. Right. And so he looked it up for me. The guy was not MAGA. He hadn't voted, period, and our relationship did end. But
yes, immediately at that party.
Yeah, I was like, this ain't gonna work. But the point is, Michael was like, if you ever need me to look you up a man, I will do it. And I was just like,
Michael's a real one.
He's a real one.
Okay, before we talk about your books, we have to talk about the most controversial thing that you just said. You are a MAGA person. Do you listen to Ezra Klein?
Wait, what do you mean?
Because I say MAGA.
Oh.
I feel like it is MAGA, but Ezra Klein has been floating MAGA around, and I feel like he has infected the brains of geniuses around us because so many people are saying MAGA now, and I am a hardline MAGA. I think it's MAGA.
I have listened to a few Ezra Klein episodes.
Okay, so you came to this on your own. You came to MAGA on your own.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met. So this is the thing. I'm from Ohio, and we speak phonetically sort of perfectly. Like, if you want to be a newscaster, get someone from Cleveland, Ohio, because we don't really have any kind of accent. But the one thing that we sometimes do is we'll be a little bit nasal. And so for me, MAGA, I can't say MAGA because to me in my head it sounds very nasal, and I don't want to sound like that.
Okay, fair.
Which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but
it's like MAGA is the worst. So like saying it nasally is like it's MAGA, like it's just yuck. But also the thing about MAGA is that then you can call the people. Well, this is just mean, but you can be like maggots, right? Like that's true. Like the nickname. But maggots don't work.
That's true.
I don't know. MAGA is.
I do want to say maggots. Like there are times that I want to say maggots.
I do want to say it sometimes. Yeah. Anyways, it's just, this is my like sometimes I'll listen to Ezra Klein, who, I haven't talked about him publicly on this podcast, but he's not my favorite. But sometimes I will listen. And every time he says MAGA, then I immediately have to send voice notes to like 6 of my friends being like, why is he saying MAGA? Why is he trying to ruin my life? Like, this is why I can't listen to this show. But I feel like some people say MAGA because of him, because he says it all the time. And he says it like so Ezra Klein-y, where he'll be like, MAGA. And I'm like, Ezra, get a life. So, anyways.
I would just say I've listened to fewer than 5 episodes of his podcast in my life. And in general, I feel like we need to be listening to a little bit less of Ezra Klein.
I feel the same way. I need to do a whole Ezra Klein. I feel like there are things in the world that I dislike that I sort of talk about casually, like in my stories, or like might come up, like Hamilton, for example. And I feel like I just need to sit down and do an hour-long episode on like all of these things that I just like don't like, but people always ask me follow-up questions about, because I know people can be like, why don't you like Ezra Klein, blah, blah. I don't like him for a lot of like legitimate reasons, I think. And also I don't like him because he says MAGA. I think that's fair. Like, I think I can dislike people for a myriad of reasons.
Yes, you can.
But I agree. I think we could do less Ezra Klein.
He's challenging. I do think he's hot, but that's neither here nor there when it comes to.
I think he can be hot, but now that he knows he's hot, now that he's had this like glow up, it's ick to me. He has the ick, and then he's not even like one of my professional nemesis or anything. I just like, he's someone that I just like love to be like ew about.
And it's fair. I'm a New Yorker. His wife wrote stupid things about Zohran Mamdani. I'm not. Yeah, it's
okay. We're out on him. We're out on him. So that means you've got to start saying MAGA, even if you don't like the nasal, because you don't want people to think that you're an Ezra Klein stan, because that's what I thought. You don't want. It's like you got to go at MAGA. Yeah, exactly.
It's actually, that is kind of fun. That's actually kind of
I like it. Lean into it. Okay. Whew. We had to do that, people. Sorry, but we needed to. We needed to get it off our chest. 2 books you love, 1 book you hate.
Oh my gosh. Okay. 2 books I love are The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. 1 book I hate, Catcher in the Rye. I hate Catcher in the Rye.
Me too.
I hate that book.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I am sure the first 2 books you picked were both Oprah Book Club picks. But did she also do Catcher in the Rye, or am I making that up?
I'm not sure about Catcher in the Rye.
I know she did the other 2.
But she's done Elizabeth Strout a couple of times.
She did all of Kittredge, and she started with Bluest Eye. That was her first ever book club pick.
I'm not sure about. I mean, I just know Catcher in the Rye from high school, and it's like that book that everyone knows that I think is.
It was not an Oprah pick. I know. I mean, I know it from that too. I hate it. I didn't read it till after high school, and I think it was too late for me to read that book. I was like 22, and I was like, no, bitch, no, I don't. This boy, no, thank you.
He needs to get his butt whooped, is what he needs.
Yeah. What kind of reader are you? Like, do you read multiple books at once? Do you like deep dive into things? Do you like to read all sorts of stuff? Are there genres that you love or hate? Like, who are you as a reader?
So that is a good question. I used to read multiple books at once, and now it's similar to how I work as a writer, where I have typically one book that I'm really keyed in on, and then I have others that are floating around that I may have started, but like this one has sort of emerged, and so that's the one I'm focused on. So I feel like I read one book at a time, even though I'm always reading multiple things. I will say I'm mostly, when it comes to fictional literary reader. But I do like myself some romance.
Okay.
And the occasional like, well, I like more literary thriller, I would say, than actual thriller. But I would say that I tend to stick to the more literary work. I don't know why. It just tends to be.
Do you read nonfiction?
Yes. But, and with nonfiction, I'm more expansive in what I will read, but I don't read as much of it. But I love an essay collection. I love a memoir. I do like a celebrity memoir. Those I usually listen to, though. I don't read them. I usually listen. Yeah.
I'll never read a celebrity memoir again. Once I got into audiobooks, I was like, I'll never take my precious actual page time for Will Smith, you know?
Correct.
Like, happy to give you 12 hours of listening, cannot give you 12 minutes of reading, cannot give you 12 seconds.
Yeah, they're great for a long drive. They're great for if you're walking your dog. I do like some I think are genuinely really good books or whatever.
Do you have any favorites?
My favorite celebrity memoir is Kerry Washington's Thicker Than Water. I never
read that one. Okay.
I think it's spectacular. And I could tell as I was listening to it, I was like, I think she wrote this herself. I don't think she used a ghostwriter. And then she confirmed it in a Vogue interview that she wrote it herself. And there was something about the craft and the way that she did, most celebrity memoirs just move in a linear, totally linear way chronologically. And she doesn't do that. She does a lot. She did a lot of stuff in that book with the narrative that I did in my novel, for example. And so I was like, this feels like a writer's mind at work, not a ghostwriter who's writing it for someone else. It's really good.
I love that. What's the last great book you read?
I really, really loved Homeseeking by Carissa Chen, which came out in January of this year. Okay. Chris is a friend of mine from Sarah Lawrence. We've known each other for a long time, but I just loved the intricacy of that love story. I loved the fact that it spanned two continents and 40 years. The ambition of that narrative was amazing, and I thought she delivered it really beautifully. So that's one. If I can just give one more, I also really loved that I read recently, the novel Skin and Bones by Renee Watson, which I just think she's such a beautiful writer. And that book, more people should have heard about that book and should have been talking about that book, because I think it's incredible. And it deals with fat phobia in just a way that I think very few literary books do. So that is really a spectacular book as well.
Okay, I love that. Okay, how about, what are you reading right now?
So right now, listen, I just started Sula, which I've never read before. So, yeah, so that's really exciting. There is still Toni Morrison that I haven't read, and that's one of them.
Me too.
So that's kind of my focus right now. I'm reading that. I think I'm reading it in part because I think it will help me with my future project. But, anytime I read Toni Morrison, it feels like everything kind of shuts down and I just get to hear her voice as I'm reading, and it's like the best thing ever. So I try not to rush through it, and I try not to read, this is why I space out reading her work. It's a comfort to me.
Which other ones do you still have to read?
I still have to read Song of Solomon, and I still have to read Tar Baby. I think I've read everything else.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think I've read everything. I've read all of her fiction, but I have not read, for example, the collection of her speeches. I haven't read that.
Yeah.
I did read Recitative, which is really like a short story, but
Yeah.
a book. So there's still stuff to read. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Sula and Song of Solomon are my two favorite, I would say. They're really different. I love Sula. Sula is my favorite. I haven't read them all either. I still have 3, but I have Paradise, Home, and Love. Those are the 3 I have left of the novels.
I also have Jazz. I haven't read Jazz yet.
Oh, we did that last year for book club. We've done all the ones you haven't read for book club.
Oh my gosh.
So they're all there for you. And they're really fun. Like, they're really good ones. Okay. What is a book that you love to recommend to other people?
I love to recommend the novel Ghana Must Go by Taiye Selasi.
I don't know that.
It came out in 2013. I think it was a New York Times bestseller, but I also felt like it was published sort of quietly, but I wasn't in the industry so much then. But it's a beautiful, beautiful novel. It's the only novel that she's written. And her writing, her sentence level writing will be reminiscent of Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things.
Okay.
So if you love that sort of lyrical, rhythmic, like sort of complex sentences kind of writing, I think you'll love it. It's a story of 4 siblings dealing with grief and all of their own personal things coming together around the death of their father. I just think, an incredible book.
I'm reading my first Arundhati Roy right now. I'm listening to Mother Mary Comes to Me, her new memoir.
Oh.
I wasn't going to read it because I didn't think that I cared. And then an author that I love, who I won't say who, was like, it's amazing. And then someone else texted me about it. And they were like, well, I just love her editor. And I said, well, who's her editor? And they said, Kathy Belden. And I said, what? Kathy Belden, who's Kiese and Jesmond's, like, you know, she's my favorite. She's my favorite. And I was like, fuck it. And then it was on the Kirkus list. And I was like, you know what? I'm starting it. So I started it yesterday and I'm into it. It's very beautifully written. The writing is very like beautiful. I have been extremely out on memoir this year. So I'm struggling with it. I usually love memoir. I have DNF'd I have not finished like at least 10 memoirs this year. I think I've only finished like 5, and 2 of them were celebrity memoirs.
Well, you know, your tastes go through shifts, and the times.
Yeah.
That's what you are craving a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's incredible, so I will read it, but I'm not when her second novel was announced, I like went ape shit. I am excited about this memoir, and I will get to it, but it's like an I will get to it kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting because people that I love and trust are like, it's amazing. So I'm giving it like more space than I would another memoir, and I'm liking it, but I'm not like, I'm just like waiting. I'm trying not to be my normal judgy self. Normally I would just be like, I hate memoir, I'm not reading it. So I'm trying to be nice. It's really hard for me. What's the last really good book that somebody else recommended to you?
Fish Tales by Nettie Jones.
You liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, Disha, of course. The best.
Yeah.
The best.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I had forgotten about it. And then she just like handed it to me. And I was like, oh, right. And so, yeah.
What's your ideal reading setup? Location, time of day, beverages, snacks, temperature, props, costumes. Talk about it.
Any time of day is fine for reading. I like to be in like a really comfortable chair or my couch, like either one. I don't like to be in bed. I like to be in a couch or chair. So I'm sitting a little bit more upright, and I will have a beverage. I will always have a glass of ice cold water, like super, super ice cold. And then I will either have a glass of wine or a coffee or a latte, depending on when during the day it is. And I do need snacks around. My favorite for reading is popcorn.
Okay.
I love
just popcorn. A plain popcorn with like a salt, or do you like a flavored popcorn?
Oh, either cheese popcorn or very buttered or kettle. I guess, yeah, all the flavors are good. The other thing, I like almonds, honey roasted almonds or whatever. If those are around, those are the 2 things that I will just like constantly put in my mouth.
You passed the test. I love this. Do you have a favorite bookstore?
I have many. In New York, my favorite bookstore is probably Strand. I just love how big it is and how you can buy new things and used things. There's a bookstore in a small town called Kent, Connecticut called House of Books that I really love. And whenever I visit, I have friends who live there. Whenever I visit, I always go to that bookstore. There's a bookstore in Cleveland Heights that I grew up going to, a tiny independent bookstore next to a diner that I loved, that I still love. And it's called Max Backs Books, I think. And it's this tiny hole in the wall bookstore with used books and new books. And it's been around for decades. And it used to be, transphobia aside, it's where I used to buy the Harry Potters. I would go there at midnight when Harry Potter was being published when I was a kid, and I would buy the Harry Potters there. So I love that place.
What is your relationship now to the Harry Potters?
I love them. I cannot read them. And I certainly cannot stand their author. But I recognize that it's complicated. There's a lot of people in the Harry Potter world who've disavowed her. And I also think there's maybe some stuff going on with her that like isn't completely intentional. But I think the whole thing is sad. So I can't read them. Like if I had a child, I don't expect that I'll have a kid, but if I had a kid, I don't know that I would expose them to it. Which in the past I would have felt like that was fine to do.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. What's the last book that made you laugh?
This might sound weird, but I recently listened to the Britney Spears memoir, and there were some funny moments that made me laugh.
I love that one.
Really funny moments.
What's the last book that made you cry?
Also the Britney Spears memoir.
Oh, okay, Britney, Double Trouble. What's the last book where you felt like you learned a lot?
So I haven't finished it yet, but I already feel like I'm learning. I've also started reading Black Moses by Caleb Gale.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also reading it a little bit for research purposes because I don't know a lot of like fact about like these all Black towns and any of that. So that book is teaching me a lot. And it's really good. The writing is really good. I highly recommend that book.
I really love Caleb. He's awesome. Okay. We're almost out of time. So I'm going to ask you just two more questions. Okay. One is there any book that you are embarrassed that you still have never read?
Lolita.
Okay. We did that this year for book club. So if you read it, you can listen to us talk about it. I'd never read it until this year. Last one. If you could require the current president of the United States to read one book, what would it be?
Something about learning his ABCs. No, like a picture book. Like he needs it broken down. Maybe like the Berenstain Bears.
Okay.
Some shit. Like I don't expect him to be able to take in anything more complex. But we've got to get the comprehension up.
Yes, we've got to do what your mother said. Someone has to read to him 10 times a day until he can read.
Yes. Yes. Then we'll deal with something more complex.
Then we'll do more. Okay, everybody, this has been a conversation with the wonderful Michele Norris. Den will be back on September 24th to read our book club pick with us. It is The Lilac People by Milo Todd. It is historical fiction about trans people in the lead up to and during World War II in Nazi Germany. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait for you to come back and talk to us about it. Den, you are amazing. People, go get When the Harvest Comes and both. And thank you.
Thank you.
And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Michele Norris for joining the show. Will be back on Wednesday, September 24th for the Stacks Book Club conversation around The Lilac People by Milo Todd. If you love the show, if you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks Pack. And you can subscribe to my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you are subscribed to The Stacks wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And check out our website at thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Waikia Freelo. Our graphic designer is Robin McCrite, and our theme music is from Tagirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.